You use music to avoid your feelings, and I have 7 days of data that proves it. It's been 9 days now, and I haven't listened to a single song. And in that silence, I discovered 6 things about myself. And I promise at least 3 of them are also true about you. Now, in my last video, I talked about something which I called the audio leak. The reflex of filling every quiet moment with sound. If you haven't seen it, don't worry. This one stands alone, but in that video I said I'm stopping music for 7 days. And I'll tell you what happens. So, here's what happened. The data girly in me decided to track 4 things. Reaches, so every time I opened Apple Music. Ghost tracks, which I will explain in a second because this one's a bit weird. Itch intensity, so how badly I wanted to play music out of 10. And 1 sentence a day about something I noticed. So, Day 1, 16 reaches. 16 times of me just opening the app and realizing I'm doing this experiment and quitting it. Day 2, 11. Getting better, you know? Day 3, it went to 6. And day 4, just 1. And then day 5, 0. I didn't even open Apple Music once. And I remember thinking that night, okay, wow, muscle memory just stopped. We're done here. Except, no. Day 6, it went back to 3 reaches. And day 7, 2. I'm sitting here looking at these numbers and thinking, wait, why did this come back? And that question is actually what led me to everything I'm about to tell you. Discovery number 1. The world was pulling my string. Let's rewind to day 2. I told you that reaches dropped from 16 to 11. Progress, right? Except, here's my note from that day, and I quote, I almost went on YouTube to play a song and then caught myself during the time it was buffering and then I stopped. I was watching something, they played this song, I suddenly remembered this song and wanted to watch the music video. So I went on YouTube, searched for it, pressed play on the song. And the only reason I caught myself was because the video was buffering. That 3-second pause was literally what broke the trance. Without that buffering wheel, I would have probably just listened to the song and then challenge over, I guess. How many times does this happen, but without a buffering wheel to save you? Like a song playing in a cafe, or a friend singing something randomly, a scene in a show, and suddenly you're opening your music app without even deciding to. So genuinely, how many times a day do you think that's actually happening to you? And this is not just with music, by the way. This is with anything. How many of your daily actions are actually conscious choices that you made? And how many of them just happened? Discovery 2. The numbers lie to me. So you know when you pick up your phone, and you're just on it, you don't even realize how you got there. Like you didn't actively open up Instagram. You just realize you've been scrolling like 2 hours later. That was me with music. And then I looked at the data. So day 2, my itch intensity was a 7.5, which by the way was the highest of the entire week. So I wanted to play the music more, but if you look at the reaches on that day, it was only 11. Compare that to day 1 where the intensity was lower, but the reaches were 16. So on day 2, I wanted it more, but I reached for it less. And then on day 5, I didn't reach for it at all. It was at 0. But the itch intensity was back to a 7. Meaning, sometimes I was opening the app completely on autopilot without even wanting it. And sometimes I really wanted it, but I didn't even open it. Not even once. So the wanting and the reaching completely disconnected. Which means half of the time it wasn't even about music. Discovery 3. My brain refused to accept silence. The ghost tracks showed me exactly this. Quick explainer. A ghost track is when your brain just starts playing music internally without even you asking. The song just appears fully formed in your head. This was my favorite thing to track because you can actually see the evolution in just 7 days. So day 1 was 22 ghost tracks. 22 moments where my brain just started playing music on its own without even me asking. That's just the ones I caught. I literally woke up on day 2 with Fred Again's Places to Be just playing in my head non-stop, which looking back makes complete sense because Fred Again contributed to 314 minutes out of my 317 minutes last month. He was my top artist, so of course he was the first in the Ghost Tracks queue. So then day 2, 13, getting better, day 3 and day 5, at 15 and 11. And this was the hardest days for different reasons. Day 3 was my first metro ride without any music or any audio input. Day 5 was my most frustrating day at work. And then day 6 was a 5, and then day 7 was a 4. And I wrote next to day 7, from what I remember, which honestly tells you everything about how chaotic this tracking got. And then another interesting happened on day 6. The song was playing in my head and I just started singing it loudly while I was already doing something. So the ghost tracks were always there. My brain was always having its own internal concert, I guess, and I just couldn't hear it. And I think that's kind of the point. You can't hear what's actually going on in your head if you never gave it a chance to speak. So the silence didn't actually create the ghost tracks. It just finally let me hear them. And honestly, I think yours are also playing right now. You just can't hear them yet. Discovery 4. There are 2 types of triggers and they need different solutions. The first trigger is waiting. Like when my Excel was loading, waiting for the elevator, waiting for a page to stop buffering. Any gap where nothing was happening, my hand would just go automatically to the music before I even registered it. My day 1 note literally says, I reach for it the most when I am in waiting mode. So when anything did not happen quickly enough. And then there's the second one, which is completely different. Day 3 note said, I want to play music when I want to avoid thoughts that made me uncomfortable. The first one is when there's a gap in the outside world, I want to fill it with music. And the second is when there's a gap in the inside world, I want to escape that. 2 completely different things, but on the outside, they look identical. Girl picks a phone, girl opens Spotify, and girl presses play. And I never knew which one I was doing because I never stopped long enough to actually check. So which one is it for you? Next time you catch yourself reaching to play music or any audio inputs, is there a gap in the outside world or is there a thought that you don't want to finish? Discovery 5. It was never about silence, it was about cognitive load. I genuinely thought removing music from chores, commuting, walking would be the hard part. It wasn't. Looking at the week, there was one time when I was actually getting ready. It felt weird for the first 5 minutes and then it was fine. Then I also wrote that I did 2 hours of chores without any input. I didn't even notice it until after. And I also literally wrote that I'm surprised that this is easier than I thought. But then day 5, I wrote that I want to play music the most when I'm working and especially when I want to focus on something or after a long meeting. This was actually now about silence and effort, not noise versus silence. When my body was doing something and my brain could just drift, fine, no music was needed. But the second my brain had to actually work, focus on something difficult or recover from my draining conversation, even editing the last video, the craving came back with full force. So if you listen to music while you work or study, and you think it helps you focus, maybe it does. But also maybe just helping you tolerate how uncomfortable focusing really is. Which, by the way, is a very different thing. And lastly, discovery 6. The itch didn't disappear, but space opened up anyway. So, day 7, here's what I wrote. There is now more space to notice things and look around. When something frustrates me now, I don't have a choice but to experience it fully and let it go. Instead of playing music and either enhancing the feeling or forgetting about it. Enhancing it or forgetting it. That's what music was doing for me. It was my amplifier and my delete button at the same time. I never once asked myself which one it is because I never noticed it until now. And look, I'm not saying that I'm never listening to music again, but somewhere in those 7 days, something actually quietly shifted. There is now a gap between me wanting to press play versus me actually pressing play. In that gap, I actually get to choose. I never had that before, and I think you deserve that gap too. So, 6 discoveries, 7 days, 9 days now actually, and I promised at least 3 of those discoveries would be true about you too. So, now be honest, was it 3 or was it more? In my last video, I called it the audio leak, the unconscious reflex to fill every single quiet moment with sound. And I think what 7 days showed me was why we do it. A lot of us are walking around thinking that we know ourselves. We've done the shadow work, we've journaled, we've made the vision boards, we've watched the videos, we've read the books. But if you cannot sit in silence for 30 minutes without your hand reaching for your phone or other inputs, you don't know yourself as well as you think you do. Because most of the time, we're not choosing anything. Our thumb is choosing, brain is choosing, all on autopilot. The buffering wheel is the only reason we sometimes don't. So here's the only thing I want you to do after watching this video. Tomorrow, whenever you'd normally put something on, during a walk, cooking, getting ready, studying, whatever, don't. Just have 30 minutes of nothing playing. No songs, no podcast, no white noise, nothing. And then come tell me what happened in those 30 minutes in the comments. Does your brain start making its own playlist? Do you catch your hand moving towards your phone? Do you notice a thought you didn't expect? Is it uncomfortable? Whatever that shows up is your data. And that's where the real stuff lies. So if 7 days of silence gave me a gap between wanting and choosing actively, I think 30 minutes might surprise you too.